Nagpapatanggal pa talaga kayo ng shoes? Nagpapatanggal pa rin kayo ng shoes?
Yes sir, pagka AIT machine ang gamit. Dito sa walkthrough hindi.
Sa walkthrough hindi.
Kasi sir, kailangan talaga magpatanggal.
Kuya,
Di ba suspended na yung ano?
Suspended na po pag walkthrough.
kaya pwede ko kunin.
Pero pagdating dito sa AIT machine is mandatory po grabe po.
Ah, okay.
Dahil sa machine.
Okay.
Pero pag walkthrough po yan. Huwag na po to.
Thank you.
Coming in such a short notice, diba? Alam ko, kaka-organize lang natin ito, but this is our usual, of course, walkthrough with our media family regarding our preparation, but it doesn't mean na ngayon lang kami mag-walkthrough. You know, this is a part of daily preparation naman natin as an airport operator, and even though we do this every day, we would like to, of course, assure the public that during this peak season, which is for this year would be around the 10-day period because of the very long holiday, combination of the election on Monday as well as UNDAS, we recognize that, of course, we do want to showcase what we have prepared for so that we can ensure our passengers that they will have a very seamless and pleasant experience here in MIAA. So, maybe I can first start with a presentation, an update, and then after that we can entertain some questions. Before a few questions, and then we will be going through our walkthrough. Today we've planned to show you Terminal 1. Of course, we're here at Terminal 1. Then we'll be proceeding to Terminal 2 to look at our revamped domestic, all domestic terminal right now. And then after Terminal 2, we'll take you to a place where we position our equipment, our personnel in terms of our readiness for rescue, firefighting, and other capabilities for our airport. And we will end at MIAA Terminal 3, our biggest among the 4 terminals, and we will be going through domestic, international, and then we'll proceed, of course, to a post assessment of our walkthrough today. Okay, controlling the presentation. Can we go to the next slide? 2 million passengers over the 10-day period. But just to show you our operational stats in September, you can see on the screen, and later I think we'll provide these materials to all of you naman. In terms of the number of passengers, we've already had around 33.7 million passengers for the first 3 quarters of 2023. This is actually more than the total of the whole 2022. Last year, we processed for the whole year around 31 million passengers. Now we are at 33.7 for the first 3 quarters alone. And we expect that we will be ending this year with around 45 million passengers, still a bit below compared to our pre-pandemic high of 48 million passengers. But it's a very good indicator that air travel is really back. So in terms of the number of flights, you can see there that it's a 31% increase compared to the same period last year. And if you compare it even to 2019, it's a different story for the number of flights. We already have more flights for the first 3 quarters of 2023 compared to 2019. So sa number of passengers, we're still around 95% compared to pre-pandemic. Pero sa number of flights natin, we are actually 2% more than pre-pandemic. What does this mean? Of course, right now, marami ng flights. It means that the airlines are still deploying some of the smaller planes. Of course, with the smaller planes, fewer passengers. But as the demand actually increases, these airlines will normally prioritize their bigger aircraft which carries more passengers in Manila, and they will be redeploying their smaller aircraft dito sa mga other airports natin around the Philippines. So you will see less and less of these turboprop aircraft in the next few months because with the limited slots in Manila, these airlines will be prioritizing carrying the high volume, high density aircraft for the passenger operations. In terms of on-time performance, you would remember that around mid this year, there was a slight degradation of our OTP, driven mainly because of the impact of the supply chain issues for the maintenance requirements of the airlines such as Philippine Airlines and Cebu Pacific, mainly because of the Pratt & Whitney issue ng engines nila. Since then, they've activated recovery plans on how to mitigate the effect of those supply chain issues. And right now, we're actually at an 80% on-time performance. 80% is part in terms of international standards. Yan talaga yung what we subscribe to, 80% OTP. We've had that last month, and ang month to date natin as of this October is around 82%, and we expect to sustain that kahit papasok tayo dito sa peak season natin na UNDAS. We expect that we will be able to maintain that 80% on-time performance for all our. In terms of the recovery, you'll see that we are pretty much almost at level of on 2019, diba? So the green bar will show you that that's the 2023. The orange will be 2022, and the blue is 2019. It shows the rapid growth compared to the previous year, 2022. Compared to 2019, doon na natin pinapakita yung chart natin sa top left shows that the number of flights for September actually exceeded already that of September 2019. Whereas the number of passengers, makikita natin na it's still a bit below 2019, but malapit na rin nating lagpasan. Okay, next slide. So, what have we done this year, diba? Yung tanong nga lagi, what are we doing to improve? We know that there's undercapacity, knowing that MIAA is just rated to process around 32 to 35 million passengers per year. But as of 2019, nasa 47 million passengers na tayo. So it's really a very constrained airport system. But there are a lot of things that we can still do, even if we don't physically expand the terminal facilities. One of the biggest programs that we embarked on this year, actually we started this late last year, was our schedule and terminal assignment rationalization, or the STAR program. What this yielded was, of course, the improved utilization of our terminals by redistributing the flights. Yan yung sinasabi natin, we balance them and utilize the terminals according to their design. Later, you'll see that Terminal 2 processes more passengers than before, but is still mas comfortable pa siya because it's really designed as a domestic terminal. So right now, Terminal 2 is being used according to its design. And all of these changes that we did here, di ba, yung pag-move natin for the international flights at T2, na-move natin sila sa T1, which is the Philippine Airlines International Network. And some of the carriers in T1 that we moved to T3 as part of our balancing effort, what this yielded was a more optimized MIAA. Diba? In terms of our immigration issues, diba? After the STAR program, nawala na yung mga nakikita natin very long queuing natin sa T3 at T1. That's because we optimize the resources, diba? Like example natin for international operations would be the CIQ, or the Customs, Immigration and Quarantine. Instead of them being deployed very thinly across 3 terminals, ngayon they're focusing their manpower and equipment sa terminals 1 and 3 na lang. So therefore, by doing that, na-ensure natin that during peak hours, fully manned and fully equipped ang ating mga CIQ areas. So in terms of improving customer experience, yun nga, for a lot of passengers of Philippine Airlines, by moving them to Terminal 1, actually there's more space, more dwelling space, di ba? Kasi international passengers typically spend more time at the terminals as they come earlier compared to domestic passengers. So with Terminal 1, they have more amenities, there's a bigger shopping area, there are more restaurants, we are actually building additional more waiting spaces compared to Terminal 2. So for Terminal 3 naman, the benefits of these airlines that we move from T1 to T3, these are airlines with fewer frequencies. Sa T3 kasi, it's a very big terminal. Even if you don't go, pag sarado pa yung check-in counter mo, di ba dito sa Terminal 1, when check-in counter is still closed, they just wait dyan sa lobby. Wala silang mapuntahan. Unlike in Terminal 3, for these airlines that operate only a few flights per day, kapag maaga dumating yung passengers nila at sarado pa yung counter nila sa T3, they can just go up to the 4th level. We have the food hall, we have the shopping complex. That is before the pre-departure area. So these things were planned properly so that it can suit the requirements of our passengers. So in terms of increasing the capacity, by turning Terminal 2 into an all-domestic terminal, what happens is the rated capacity increases. Kasi dati, it's only rated, let's say, at 7 million passengers per year. It's because some of the areas have been retrofitted to accommodate immigration, accommodate customs. Now that all of those have been removed, natira na lang would be our screening areas and the passenger movement areas. We were able to increase the capacity from 7 million to 10 million passengers per year. So overnight, without having to build something, it's just more of enhancing our processes and our facility layout. We were able to increase the capacity of MIAA as a whole. And of course, Terminal 4, I think that's this is the most beneficial to the domestic passengers, di ba? Usually, Terminal 4, dyan na tayo nakabantay during the peak season. About Terminal 4 being very crowded, di ba? Everyone just standing, or kapag kami na-delay ka lang na isang flight, passengers will tend to already sit on the floor dahil nauubusan na tayo ng mga upuan. What happened for our domestic passengers is really by moving them to Terminal 2, let's say AirAsia, talagang napaka-convenient na for AirAsia passengers. And they are the number 3 domestic carrier here in the Philippines. So by moving them to Terminal 2 South Wing, napakaganda na po ng experience. And you can ask some of the passengers, talagang for AirAsia, it's really a game changer that we move them from Terminal 4 to Terminal 2. Okay, so next slide. So what are the other things that we are improving on? Diba? Kasi what I mentioned a while ago is how we optimize capacity. But at the same time, we have to also look into our facilities, diba? Our resources. Because na-mention ko nga, we're an airport that's designed for 32 to 35 million. We're doing more than 40 million. It means that all of our equipment should be available, should be, of course, operationally ready for the demand that we are looking at. So in terms of the baggage handling system, this is one of the biggest improvements that we are doing as well in Terminal 3. The baggage handling system over the years has degraded a bit because of its condition. But what with engineering done this year is by getting the right partner to improve, rehabilitate, and operate the baggage handling system. In a matter of few months, we've increased the reliability from 62 to 77%. And upon completion of the rehabilitation within the next 6 months, we will be increasing it to above 90% reliability. So we're slowly, of course, reinvigorating the BHS system of T3 in preparation to handle more flights. Because for T3, we envision to really add more flights in the future. So the STAR program may have concluded for this phase this year, but in the future, definitely we will be studying more possible realignment of flights so that we can optimize the use of our terminal facilities. For passenger boarding bridges, again at Terminal 3, used to be a very big issue for us that there are several bays that are inoperative. These PBBs, or the passenger boarding bridges, have degraded during the time of COVID. Diba? Nagka-problem tayo with maintenance. But ever since we took over last year with the DOTR Secretary, talagang tinas tayo ni Secretary Bautista na to look for a solution to increase the reliability and operational readiness of these boarding bridges. In fact, as of today, last year, as high as 8 out of the 20 bays were not being used in Terminal 3, but right now, we're only down to 2 bays that are inoperative, and we have 18 that are already operational right now and capable of handling flights at T3. Again, dito sa last part, to the right, you can see that immigration counters, one of our choke points in terms of queuing. What have we done so far? Of course, na-mention ko kanina was the people aspect, the personnel. Diba? Na-deploy na natin ng mabuti. And on the side of MIAA, of course, we've committed to the Bureau of Immigration that we will give them enough posts. Diba? We started the year with just around 29 counters, departure counters for immigration in Terminal 3. But as of today, we already have 44 counters. So we've really increased the number of counters. And natapatan naman yun ng personal deployment ng Bureau of Immigration. Kaya ngayon makikita ninyo, we'll walk through later, that immigration dun sa T3 is hindi na siya lumalagpas sa moderate level. Talagang hindi na siya nag-overflow. And tuloy-tuloy na yung pag-process ng mga immigration officers as they have adapted already to the staffing pattern post-STAR program implementation mid this year. Okay, next slide. So, of course, the other things that are facing Manila in terms of irregular operations, I know everyone has experienced this. This is a normal occurrence, but this is something that we really have to monitor properly so that we can protect the welfare of our ground personnel that are working in the airport. Lightning or thunderstorms are a frequent occurrence here in Manila, but what we have to do is, of course, mitigate the potential impact to operations. So what we have done so far is a very proactive monitoring, as well as reliance on high technology tools such as this one that we're showing. we have a spheric map that we subscribe to that detects lightning strikes around the region, diba? So dito makikita natin we're monitoring. We've already been able to reduce the radius for red alert from previously 9 kilometers down to 5 kilometers. And because of the active monitoring, let's say for that period in June 29 to July 29, based on if we just relied on our old process na hindi natin in-enhance, we would have stopped operation for a total of around 14 hours and 49 minutes for the whole month from June to July. But because we are doing the beta test and proper monitoring and proactive management and informing the airlines real time, we were able to reduce the actual red alert o yung itong ground stop natin from 14 hours down to just 4 hours and 12 minutes. So we're looking at a saving of 70% or 10 hours and 37 minutes. That's very, very big kahit i-spread mo yan throughout the month. Kasi tandaan nyo, ano ba tong impact ng red alert, di ba? Given that our airport is severely under capacity na talagang lahat ng we're already over using the number of flights are over what our capacity right now. It means that kapag ka may scheduled flight to leave at this hour, may papalit sa kanya agad. So it's very important that we plan this properly para ma-minimize natin kasi wala tayong available slack sa airport natin. Everything has to be like clockwork, meaning may papasok, may lalabas. So during times na mamamanage naman natin yung disruption, that's why when we really have good on-time performance like what we're having right now, above 80%, you won't see not much queuing, wala kang makikitang complaints about nauubusan ng upuan. But syempre kapag nag-degrade yung on-time performance natin where the flights that are supposed to leave are not yet leaving and then parating na yung next flight, and ibig sabihin yung mga pasahero for the next flights are also coming because they will come according to the published schedule, doon na nagkakaroon ng patong-patong in terms of having the people in our terminals na nag-accumulate. So critical here is that we work with the stakeholders, we work with the airlines, we work with the stakeholders, of course within MIAA, outside of MIAA, and other government offices to make sure that on time yung flights natin and of course minimize natin yung impact of any delays or cancellations para convenient naman yung pagbabiyahe ng ating mga pasahero. Okay, do we have another slide? Yeah. So other things that we're doing in preparation for the peak season, of course, this is an inter-agency effort about deploying upland desks to assist the passengers. Of course, you'll have security, you'll have the CAB, you'll have people from MIAA and the airlines so that they will be manning critical locations so that they will be able to assist. Malasakit kits provided by the airport are also readily available in case we need to deploy them during unforeseen circumstances. But apart from that, we have the commitment of the airlines that they will be providing the amenities. So these amenities that are provided by MIA are just over and above what the passengers can expect from the airlines in terms of the amenities that they are entitled to during disruptions. Okay, so I think we're on to the last slide. Last slide, of course, even though naayos natin yung experience nila within, of course, the airport, di ba, as they depart or arrive, very important as well, we recognize that we have to give our passengers intermodal options, di ba? So that napakabilis nga ng kanilang pag-deplane, napakabilis ng pagkuha ng bagahe, pero it takes time for them to get transport options to go to their destination. So that's why we are working very closely with the transport providers. We've been meeting with LTFRB, we've been meeting with private transport providers to increase the fleet that's available. Of course, we have our taxis, we have our car rentals, we have, of course, ride-hailing apps, we have Grab, we have even the motorcycle taxi available, we have P2P buses in the other routes that are being enhanced to be able to support the demand here in MIAA. But of course, malaki yung impact rin ng traffic sa Metro Manila in terms of the transport options These cars, minsan hindi sila makabalik on time sa terminals kapag they're stuck somewhere in the city. That's why we're talking to different providers on how they can augment the number of vehicles that they will be deploying, especially during the peak days, diba? Para we can prepare for this surge of passengers. So, over the next 10 days, what do we expect? We're expecting around an average of 120,000 to 130,000 passengers using MIAA each day, or totaling around 1.2 million passengers for the 10-day period starting tomorrow. In terms of the surge or the volume, directional yan. Most of the passengers will be heading out for the first 3 days. We've looked at the forward booking of the airlines. Very heavy ang outbound natin, meaning departing passengers will outnumber the arriving passengers, specifically from tomorrow until Monday. Mga ganun yan. So from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, outbound palabas. Very heavy ngayon na nakikita natin, more of domestic. Again, because siguro elections, some of the people will also be going to their provinces where they can vote. And same as with UNDAS, of course, they'll go kung saan nila i-visit yung family nila as well as loved ones that are in their cemeteries, diba? Pero, of course, when you have a surge going out of Manila, meron din yung surge going into Manila, which would happen around at the tail end of that 10-day period, around November 4, 5, and 6. So, yun yung nakikita nating pattern dito, and that's what we're preparing for. And, we can assure our riding public that the MIAA, the OTR, is working with the private stakeholders and the government entities to make sure that we have the required number of personnel, equipment, as well as the process enhancements in place to make sure that UNDAS 2023 would be one of the best experiences of our passengers compared to previous years, even though we see that dumadami na at ang mga pasahero na gumagamit sa NAIA. In short, all of the enhancements are in place so that we can prepare for the contingencies and we can make sure passenger safety, convenience, and of course efficient operation of the airport is of paramount priority to this administration. Again, thank you very much for joining this morning's briefing, but we will still have a walkthrough. And right now, Ms. Connie, what's our next program in our program?
Yes, sir. We will entertain some questions.
Thank you, Sir Brian, and thank you, Ron, for that question. By the way, for the past days, we in the security service of the MIA continuously coordinating with the different agencies, intelligence, community, and PNP, ABSECO, OTS, plus other security sectors inquiring about kung may mga threat, projected threat, or individual contemplating yung gusto gumawa ng mga illegal activities also in MIA. Wala naman po. In fact, normal security condition that we have. There were no unforeseen mga threat on the part sa MIA po. Ito po yung resulta ng assessment and evaluation ng mga security agencies natin when it comes to threat level. So, normal po ang security condition along the MIA. Thank you, General.
Sakay ng mga pasahero. Meron po ba kayong nakahandang plano para ito?
Yes, ma'am. We have established a protocol in any kind of threat or security situation that may arise. No? Established na po yan. In fact, as of last week, we have already cascading the security protocol that we will institute just in case mayroon instant or hard emergency that will crop up during this particular long holiday.
Simulation exercise tayo.
In fact, we have just finished last month yung
Laki ng participation ng airlines because the resources for them to be able to recover itong mga pasahero are coming from them. So, based on our talks with the major airlines, specifically yung mga pinakamalaking impact niyan, yung mga home-based carriers katulad po ng PAL, Cebu Pacific, AirAsia, passengers, instead of before, di ba, ang nangyayari, they redistribute these passengers over a few number of days. Ngayon, they've assured us that a percentage of their fleet will be dedicated for spare, meaning walang nakaschedule na flight sa ibang mga aeroplano nila, but just to act as a backup para kapag meron pong nagkaroon ng ganyang aberya, like bad weather, as soon as nag-clear yung weather sa other station, instead of dinedelay yung isang aircraft na nag-aantay siya to transport the passengers, which will affect other flights of that aircraft rotation, meron na silang backup aircraft that will be able to fly those passengers out and going back to Manila. So, isa yun sa mga improvements that they have been looking at. And of course, sa MIAA, ang pinaka-importante, of course, is the timely dissemination of information to the passengers. Yun din yung in-emphasize namin sa mga airlines and of course to our personnel that sometimes nagkakaroon ng anxiety ang pasahero kapag wala lang silang informasyon. So the airlines are also looking at tapping technology kapag ka may mga delays, like Cebu Pacific already launched na may mga digital notifications sa pasahero. Imbis na maghihintay sila from the check-in agent to know what's the status, those information can be delivered to the passengers in their phones or in their emails. So, and as far as the airport is concerned, we're deploying the personnel to make sure that, of course, we assist the airlines in managing the passengers. Kasama rin natin dito ang CAB, so that we know that, of course, the right information, the right handling is done. Yun mga ginagawa natin ngayon. Additional resources so that we can buffer for the peak season, as well as leveraging on technology so that we can improve passenger experience po.
Okay, Joseph.
It's almost just the same number. We do not expect any significant surge in terms of the number of passengers we're processing per day. 8 to 10% at most, but those are very tolerable limits. It's just like having a weekend compared to a weekday statistic. So because na-spread out din yung holidays, it means na-spread out din yung options ng passengers natin when to depart and when to arrive. So yun din, just like what happened last Holy Week, di ba? 10-day period din siya. Actually, medyo mas bumaba pa nga yung count or flat lang siya compared to other days na active yung commerce or business, di ba? Kasi during weekdays or kapag hindi holidays, kaya marami nagta-travel, it's because of business, di ba? And during the holidays naman, pagka very extended, nagta-travel for leisure, going home to the provinces, or foreign tourists coming in. Sa nakikita namin ngayon based on coordinating with the airlines, wala tayong nakikita na significant na 30-40% increase. It's really, since marami na rin talaga nagta-travel, normal na ulit yung air travel, it's just a slight increase. So you won't have to go through the check-in counters anymore. Diretso ka na, going to the gate. And another thing for international travelers, we remind them that, they can actually, especially for Filipinos, they can buy the yung TIEZA, the Philippine travel tax, they can pay online already. Para what we usually experience, diba, pagka check-in, sabihin, you come back for your boarding pass kasi magbayad ka muna dun sa TIEZA counter, diba? You can pay actually the travel tax online through tieza.gov.ph. And of course, for immigration in the other requirements, may online platform na tayo, which is the e-travel, di ba? For both outbound and inbound international passengers, we recommend that the passengers fill them up ahead of time. Hindi yung kapag nasa pila na tsaka sila nag-fill up, because that adds anxiety to them na, nako, malilate na ako, ngayon pala ako nag-fill up. Those things you can fill up as early as, I think, 72 hours before your flight. So, yun, sa congestion, what we're looking at right now, and we're closely working with the OTS, is really final security screening. Doon tayo ngayon, na-resolve natin yung bago pumasok ng terminal. Maganda rin yung performance natin sa check-in. Immigration is also working well right now. Final security screening, of course, the general, myself, we're in coordination with the OTS talagang to deploy the right number of personnel para, we have the right number of equipment, we need the right number of personnel para tuloy-tuloy yung pagpoproseso natin sa pasahero. And recently, there was a directive to remove the 100% requirement removal of the shoes. Of course, that can still be imposed from time to time based on profiling and random checks, and some of the machines will be requiring you to remove the footwear, but we are working with the OTS to reduce the possible build up of passengers in that area. So yan yung dyan kami closely nakamonitor for this peak season.
This last one.
Practice for airlines. Of course, there are certain acceptable levels kasi meron din mga pasahero na nagna-no-show. That's why they do that kind of overbooking. But over time, medyo nag-iiba yung trend. So the airlines have been adapting to really lower the thresholds of the possibility of overbooking. So together with the Civil Aeronautics Board, of course, we're working with the airlines as to how to improve that kind of situation. Siyempre, pagka may overbooking, there's a corresponding compensation that the passengers will be able to get, diba? And it's on a voluntary basis. The airlines are supposed to ask the passengers, whoever would voluntarily be denied boarding, and may kapalit yun na compensation. Parang may escalation yan eh. Pagka walang tumanggap sa ganitong level, tataas ng airline yung offer hanggang makahanap siya ng pasahero that will be willing to accept that offer and transfer to another flight or have the other travel options. So we have to make sure that the airlines really comply with that kind of approach and align sa mga policies that are stated and of course implemented by our Civil Aeronautics Board. We will see that later. Sa T1 may ganyan din tayo, di ba? So there are certain reasons na sinasabi nila why they have to remove the shoe, especially for that equipment. But of course, we are coordinating with them further and looking at, of course, what's being implemented as well in other countries. Kung ganun nga ba talaga that you have to remove shoes on those 360 modern equipment. So yun, we saw po yung update niya. And of course, we are very thankful na napakita niya yung ganun, and we are working with them right now to look into the reason why shoe removal is still required for that kind of equipment. So item namin yun, and we'll update you po.
Kaya kung ako